What up, world? This is the GoalNet, recording live here from GoalNet Studios outside of Chicago. This is a follow-up video to the one I posted the other day showing the process for actually applying the patch for composite stick. And in today's episode, we are actually going to take everything off after the patch and make sure that it held correctly. For a recap, or if 2 years down the road you're watching this video, kind of wondering what's going on here and how we got here. This is my CCM Premier 2 stick. Huge fan of it, has a custom pattern. Stick got me through about 45 skates, which would be a mix of A-level men's league hockey, pickup or shinny, and lastly, just some goalie specific ice time, which is always the worst and hardest on your sticks. And the stick didn't break, but it started to crack and chip. So I put a patch on it that was made of graphite powder and epoxy to try and prolong the life of this stick. So where we're at right now is that it's sat for about a day and a half with the patch on it, some clear tape over it, and 2 clamps. And right now we're basically just gonna take the clamps off and remove the clear tape and make sure that everything is good with it. And then if there's any rough or high spots, we're gonna sand those. Most of the sanding is really just to ensure that we get a smooth taped finish. I don't know that it's actually required around the functionality of the stick at all. All right, so clamps came off super easy. And let's take the tape off next. And for anybody wondering, the point of the tape is twofold. One is just so that your clamps don't get stuck to the epoxy. And secondly, just to try and give the epoxy patch some form of uniform finish as it dries on your stick. So as you can see, as we peel it off, some of the unused epoxy comes right off and really minimizes the aesthetic effect. And again, when it comes to taping, how it's gonna feel with too much epoxy on the stick. And this is just basic Howie's clear hockey tape, if you're wondering what we used. I've also previously used like the clear Gorilla tape in the past, but this works pretty well. And as I mentioned in the part 1 of this video, I appreciate everybody's patience with kind of the jostling of the camera. And also you'd be surprised if you've never done it, how hard it is to do something basic like tape a stick when you're looking through the iPhone lens. All right, so let's take a deeper dive and kind of see how the patch worked out. All right, so as you can see, that area there, if you watched the first video, had exposed carbon fiber, kind of the inner workings of the blade, and that is all gone. If I really wanted to be a perfectionist, but I'm skating tonight, maybe could put a little bit extra epoxy here just to make it really smooth, but overall, I'd give that about an 8 out of 10. I mean, it really covered up the gap in the exposed carbon fiber in the inner workings, and this smaller chip up here, A+. I mean, that's pretty smooth and pretty flush with the blade. And if you remember in the first video, I could actually physically stick my fingernail, and running from here to about here was a hairline fracture, and that sealed up really, really well. I can't get my fingernail in there. So overall, couldn't be happier. I mean, the bigger litmus test is gonna be getting this baby back on the ice tonight and seeing how it holds up. But as you can hear acoustically, very solid, very hard again. There's no soft spots, no weak spots. So overall, very, very happy with the patch. But again, the proof will be in getting this thing on the ice. So the last step is I'm just gonna sand this area just a little bit because there are, as you can see, a couple little coarse spots where the epoxy didn't dry too well. All right, so I'm just gonna go very gently with some sandpaper just because I don't want to take off the paint or affect the coating of all of the blade that's intact and wasn't repaired. So this piece back here is actually just some extra epoxy that squirted out underneath the tape and didn't come off. I'm not going to do the crack just because that came out very well, but that's nice and smooth. And then we're just going to focus on just cleaning up any of the rough areas. Again, if you really get into the nitty-gritty, do some real best practices, you could probably talk to somebody at your local Home Depot or Ace or whatever and get the perfect sandpaper. I just happen to have some general purpose sandpaper laying on the shelf, and because I'm not going to do too much sanding, I'm not that worried about it. But again, there are ways, if you put a little bit additional effort into this past I have, you could really maybe take this repair to the next level. My goal here was just to get back up and on the ice within a 2-day turnaround for skating and get my favorite stick back in use. All right, so overall, really happy with it now, as you can see with the sandpaper. Not sure how well this is coming out on camera, but that's a pretty nice smooth edge. I may take another crack at this real quick off camera just to, see how it's holding up and see if I can do it a little bit cleaner when I can actually look at what I'm doing and not looking through the iPhone screen. Not looking through the iPhone screen here, but overall very happy, and realize some of these black marks on here are actually probably puck marks, or because I use black tape. They're black tape leftover. This isn't all epoxy. Like, that's very clearly tape, but even if it were, again, we just spent less than $10 between epoxy and the graphite powder, and we've got a $200+ stick, with some extra life in it. In closing, the one thing I'd like to be clear on is that this is a patch, and like anything, you put a patch or a Band-Aid on, it's not a permanent solution. The goal of this is to prolong the life of my stick. I can't say if that's going to be 1 month or 1 year. Realistically, if I got another couple months out of this, I'd be really, really happy, and would also kind of give me some time to prep and figure out which stick I will look at and test with next. And hey, even if it only gets me through 1 or 2 more skates, it's worth $10 and, hopefully help some people. But again, based on this particular damage that I was trying to repair, I really think I might be able to get a couple more months out of this stick. So if you have any questions, head over to thegoalnet.com and ask. And thanks for watching. This is the GoalNet signing off.